Morning. There's a whole heap of things I'd like to talk about this morning. Um, I'd like to start by giving you something to think about. For example, like what I want to say first is it gives you something to think about. You cannot separate the dancer from the dance, but if you can take some focus on what is within your control, you can have some say in the choreography, and that just about sums up about as much free will as you have. You have free will to change your attitude towards the way of things. And then, like somebody said the other day, it doesn't matter how much anxiety you have, it will not change the outcome that's determined. But that's absolute bollocks, because that doesn't stand to reason at all. Obviously, if you're quite calm and quite cool, and you don't go to war with yourself, but everything is reason, and that's the secret. Never go to war with yourself. But whoever about going to war with others, don't go to war with yourself. And you're real cool with everything. Then and you're choosing your choices, and you're not responding to how you think life is, but you're seeking to look at it and see it as is, and then respond to it as is. And then what you don't do is with the anxiety is with, what causes anxiety is you're responding to how you think it's going to be and how you think it is, and but you're allowing the universe, as the universe said to me one time, who's stressing you out? Who's stressing you out? And I say, they are, he is, you are. Because ultimately, it's the universe is stretching me out, because they don't control it themselves at all, because they don't put enough thought into it, and they don't realise, you can't separate the dancer from the dance. I said, so ultimately, you are. And then the universe said to me, are you in control of yourself? And I said, no, I'm not. And from that time on, that was the end of the stress. Because from that time on, then, I stopped allowing this manipulation of the senses by others, by the universe, and I started back and look at the theatre and choose my response. So I choose to play the game. Now can you begin to understand, if you understand dialectics, you can begin to understand what the game is. Now there's several other games within the game. Now, that's if we choose to look upon life as a game. We can look upon it as theatre either. Now, Mr. Nature back in Plovdiv used to look upon it as theatre, and Kierkegaard used to look upon it as theatre. Like Kierkegaard used to say, life is theatre, but then again, he also said that the clown came out and said to everybody, the theatre's on fire, the theatre's on fire, and everybody just laughed. And then and the clown said, no, the theatre's on fire, and they laughed even harder. So the theatre can be on fire, and the people will laugh. But that's just pure stupidity and ignorance. But we can look upon life as theatre, as he did. Like he used to say, oh, welcome to my movie, are you enjoying my movie? And we can enjoy it like a movie. We can enjoy it like a movie and not play the game. As he used to say, I am the smoke coming off the cigarette. I am the cigarette. I am one with everything. And I said, if you're one with everything, who do you talk to? And he never did answer that. Because I said, do you have no one to talk to? You completely and he never did answer that. But yet, I used to outline the strategies to him and everything else, because what I used to try and convince him to do is play the game. Because if you're one with everything, you've absolutely no free will, which he had surrendered his free will as a German fella had done this as well. And the difference between them and me is thought is truth. If you think you have no free will, then you have no free will. Whereas me, I say, I have free will, all right. And I play the game. Because now I want to say in the choreography, but you must learn to watch the game, learn the rules of the game, then play the game by focusing on what is within your control and not what is not within your control. But what is not within your control, you just watch it and you say to yourself, well, how does that pertain to my life? You know what I mean? And then you move in what does pertain to your life. But obvious, don't forget that the universe is immersed in delusion and deception. Like I used to throw an odd strop and say to myself, fuck this, I can't win this. I'm playing against the Grand Master and I can't even play. But I had to learn how to play. No good just flipping the board and throwing a strop and saying, I can't play. No, you have to stay You have to stay watching. You have to learn how to play, and then you get better and better at the game. But by just flipping the board and throwing a strop and saying this is useless, I'm going off the top of myself. I can't play. That's you're just not playing the game. Now, if you get frustrated because you can't play the game, or you're just a pawn in the game, well, that's up to you, isn't it? If you're just a pawn in the game, there's lots of people who are just pawns in the game, like. But obviously, the more you learn how to play the game, the more powerful you become within the small games that you play and between the larger game as a whole. But if you understand dialectics, you begin to understand the main game. And now there's loads of small games within the game. Now, we'll come back to, so we can't say life is theatre because nothing is just one thing, everything is ambiguous. So we can say life is theatre, life is a game. So we can look at it from both perspectives and be able to appreciate both perspectives and see it from both simultaneously. And that's one of the things in the paradoxical universe. The trick is to be able to see everything, well, at least with two perspectives simultaneously. Because then you're not being so rigid in your thought. So life is theatre, life is a game. Which came first, the chicken and the egg? You have to be able to understand these paradoxes and understand that there's always more than one perspective. There's at least two perspectives. The pot has two handles. You can choose which one to carry it by. But you can choose. You can carry it by both handles simultaneously. This is Necker's cube. You can see both perspectives simultaneously. You don't have to try and do what the mathematicians and the creators of truth do. Oh, like as I forget who said it. The truth comes from the man with the loudest voice. Now, Neil deGrasse Tyson is a perfect example of this. He shouts everybody down and he imposes we calculate this. We are the experts. We calculate this. We have maths. We have physics. We know this. No, you don't know this, fucker. You don't know this, fucker. Do you know what I mean? You can't know this, you fucker. Do you know what I mean? You're just imposing. You're creating a reality with your loud voice and imposing your will and imposing what you believe to be true. And maybe they don't even believe it to be true. They're just because they've maybe even, you have to ask how much did they actually question it themselves? How much of it is dogmatic? Because then I want to give you an example. Aristotle then used to say art is the highest form of abstraction as well. Aristotle used to be a critique. I used to think that Aristotle wrote plays, but I was wrong in that. Aristotle critiqued plays, and he used to say that they were an analogy for life. And he used to critique tragic plays, and he used to say like that the point of these plays is to teach us that tragedy is a part of life, and that you must have a binary. You must have rich and poor. This bullshit of saying that, we can't have the poor. We have to eradicate the poor. We have to eradicate the misery. We have to eradicate everything. Mate, all you have to do is mind your own fucking business and play your own game. Because you must have binaries. You can't have good without evil. You can't have light without dark. You can't have rich without poor. Do you understand? You can't have one without the other. You can't. And this is an understanding of life. Once you understand this, and everybody has their respective roles in this regard, but you can't have one without the other. Now, we can all move up into concepts, but it's relative. Like, for example, like I could say, we have higher concepts now. For example, if we watch this, I've been watching the second part of Cathedral by the Sea called The Heirs to the Land, and everybody went out with swords and slaughtered one another and hung each other, and it really demonstrated. If you watch this thing, now you could get down to the nitty gritty of did this really happen? Did this not really happen? How true is this? How true is this? It doesn't matter how fucking true it is. What it does is like taking the view from above. It shows you how it's like having the view from above. You get to see how people's actions are motivated by greed, treachery, fear. You get to witness all this. It's like having the view from above. So it's like looking down and watching, and you can see how one life correlates with another, how another life correlates with another. And you get to see how people's actions are motivated by their feelings, because this is true in real life. It doesn't matter whether this specifically happened or didn't happen. what you're getting to see is an example, when you look at it from an analytical perspective, of how people's actions are motivated by greed, fear, treachery, what people will, and what these things, lust. There's a natural amount of women raped in it. Like this is demonstrates that when you can't control, but it's when there's no laws and there's no religions to bring some order to things, that people just carry on like wild dogs. They just carry on like wild dogs, dominating, and because this is patriarchy, complete dominance of the women, and objectification of the women, to satisfy their own urges, like their own selfish interess. And not only complete domination of the women, but complete domination of the plebs, because you had the nobility asserting themselves as we are better, and we're going to make sure we stay better by subjugating you and taxing you and keeping you poor. So we create a feudal system. But the part that I wanted to talk about in this podcast was, one thing it shows in this cathedral by the sea, or the Heirs to the Land it's called, is a lot of nuns were getting raped by the clergy, by the men in the convents and in these institutions. So it was an institution within an institution, but yet a very powerful institution, a very powerful organisation that had a great grip on the people, because it created this negation of the negation. Like, to defend the heretic is to defend the heresy. So basically, when they had a Jewish girl coming around aborting all the unwanted pregnancies, and then if the child did happen to be born, if the abortion went wrong, then they got rid of the baby. He said, well, that's the devil's child, you can kill it. So they all played this game that if a clergyman raped a nun, this was the devil. He was possessed by the devil. And this was the game that they played. Now, everybody knew well that we're all possessed. Really, ultimately, if you look at it and you understand it, we're all possessed. Not, as Hegel said, not I, but we, not two, but three. So it's nearly a fight initially for the possession. And then it's very much depends on your nature and your nurture, which is again a fight for possession. And this is the game, the fight for possession. And then you can play this game, well, who do I want to be possessed by? This becomes a dialectic in itself. But anyway, let's not go into that. But basically, we're all possessed. You're a sim. If you understand that you're a part of nature, cannot be separated from nature, you're a sim. Now, I don't know who controls this sim, because we can say it's God, and we can put that concept on it, but it could be an alien in another galaxy. And this is just a big game, an arcade game of types, something like the Hunger Games, with an objective, with a narrative, like The Witcher, where your moral choices determine the outcome. But we could say it's one big game, but it doesn't matter. It's still, we're here, we're having an experience, and we can surmise or philosophize about what's outside this or what controls it. But one thing we can be sure of: we're a sim. We're a part of an organic simulation. We're an organic android. But like in Blade Runner, we can want our freedom, but then we'd have to define our concept of freedom, and then we'd have to be able to say, well, what is within my control? Can I have a say in this choreography? And as I used to say to Mr. Nature, I want to play the game. I don't want to be just a sim, a part of the game. I don't want to play your game. I don't want to play your game. I want to create my own game. I want to play my own game. So, for example, like if they were saying that the clergy were possessed by the devil. Now, we could ask, did this really happen? Or we could say, oh, that didn't happen because these are clergy. These are our leaders. These are the religious people governing everything. They're beyond this. They're above and beyond this. They're not. They're people. They're people who could not govern themselves but wanted to govern others. That's exactly what they are. And we say, hey, did this really happen? Well, there's evidence of it because there was babies found in the sewer in County Mayo, out of a convent, out of nuns. The babies found in the sewer. But this is just life. They wanted to govern others, but they couldn't govern themselves. Now the whole world are full of people like this that want to govern others but cannot govern themselves. But in order to govern others, they create the game. They create the game. They create the play, consciously or unconsciously. I just want to say, Prophet Muhammad used to say that everybody's going to be Muslim. He made a vow that everybody be Muslim. But this is the game. Bye.